Daughter's absent bio father wants to get parental rights for insane reasons. I, 33F, am the only parent of a 6-year-old girl. I've been the only parent to my daughter. Her one-night fling with a now former buddy gave birth to her. 37M. He declined to be engaged in my pregnancy or my daughter's first 4 years of life, and we never got together. It's a major adjustment, so I was emotionally disturbed, but I never forced him to participate or sought for child support. My salary is sufficient to pay for my daughter's private education. By me, I'm doing just great. The problem arose when he decided he wanted visitation and kept turning up everywhere he went. My daughter's birth certificate does not list him. Unknown is how father is listed. That was something he wanted changed. I told him no, and the best he could hope for was to meet her when we went on dates with my godparents or me. He acknowledged this, but he hasn't stopped pressuring for parental rights. The court has already decisively denied him, unless he pays 4 years' worth of child support, which would equate to almost $230,000 USD given his income. He has made no payments. Not even my daughter refers to him as dad, or acknowledge him as your father. Mr. is how she addresses him. I maintain it immaculately. I never made up stories or spoke poorly of him. I used to tell her that it was just the two of us when she inquired about her father. The designated CPS agent stated in court that my daughter had no evident affectionate contact with her biological father. The primary issue now arises during a PTA meeting. He would say things like, "What is best for my family or my family thinks?" I expressed my disagreement with him by stating that my daughter's needs come first. It was obvious he was upset. Following the meeting, parents and teachers had some time to socialize and simply discuss how the children were doing. I was approached by a teacher who apologized, claiming that she didn't realize that my husband and I didn't approve of a project she was working on with the children. I informed her that I was single and that my daughter admired the idea and wanted to be involved. Subsequently, the teacher informed me that my ex-friend was acting as though he were my spouse and that he represents the family. I noticed red. I approached him and firmly stated that we should have a private conversation. I told him in the parking lot that we weren't a family and that he should accept that I am the only one who can decide what my daughter should learn or he should stay out of it. He continued talking about how he was her biological father, and I pointed out to him that he had not contributed any money to the pregnancy, my daughter's needs, or even the private school she attends. She doesn't mind at all that he hasn't made an attempt to see my daughter since, I inquired. I regret a little bit what I said. Edit. He has the means to pay child support, which is something I wanted to highlight because the PMs are making me crazy. He decided not to pay. It was never forbidden for him to participate. My phone number was with him. I invited him to birthday parties and other significant occasions, and I sent him pictures. He did not arrive. Update. I, 33F, will begin by stating that I have never been in a romantic relationship with my daughter's father, 37M, whom I will refer to as Jeff, who is 6 years old. We just dated for one night. Calling him my ex bothers me because it implies that we were emotionally attached to each other. After I told him I was pregnant, he never became involved and even wanted the pregnancy to end. However, since I have enough money to raise my child on my own without child support, I chose to raise my child alone. Jeff was not involved throughout the first 4 years of the pregnancy. I did send him pictures of my daughter and invited him to important events on my mother's advice, but he consistently responded by saying he was uninterested in her. He made a reappearance 2 years ago and started to claim parental rights. He sued me for not giving in to his demands, and I was informed no, he would not be granted parental rights. He was offered the chance to pay child support before we looked into awarding him full rights, but he turned it down. Even though he has far more money than I do, he still declines. I still offered to let him have casual visitation rights with my daughter. No need for child support, on the condition that he stay out of any legal, medical, or educational matters. We had a falling out because he pushed the envelope. He didn't contact us again for over 6 weeks after that, until he called to arrange a meeting for Christmas. Following a lengthy debate, I consented to bring my daughter over, but only if her godparents could attend. We went over for Christmas dinner as a result. Upon learning that Jeff is wed and never disclosed to his family that he was a parent, being judged by a group of strangers was fantastic. The entire time it was uncomfortable. I'll use fictitious names, but let's use Katie for my kid. He called my kid Gabrielle, his wife insisted. It was that different from my daughter's name, albeit it wasn't the name she really used. The wife tried to parent my daughter or pick her up in a very physical manner. I would ask her to kindly leave me in charge of my child, or I would block her. She largely ignored me the entire time, but Katie didn't appear anxious, so I chose to wait it out. When my daughter mentioned that she needed to use the restroom, and this stranger remarked, "Oh, Gabby, you need potty? Allow your mother to transform you." My daughter is more than capable of using the restroom by herself. She hasn't needed diapers in a long time. I told her right away that we were heading out and that she should not play with my daughter. The woman attempted to attack me as she began to cry that I was taking her baby girl. Her in-laws intervened and held her while comforting her and telling her that we wouldn't be leaving and that she should stop acting like the victim. I gave Jeff a stern look at that moment and threatened to call the police if he didn't explain. He suggested that we have a private conversation in a different room and that I just leave my daughter with his parents. That would never occur, I assure you. The wife had a complete tantrum, but Katie's godparents took her with them. Speaking with me outside, Jeff said that he and his spouse had recently lost a daughter. I won't get into specifics about it. All I'll say is that it happened suddenly and without anyone's fault. Furthermore, his wife had probably experienced some psychological problems as a result. It seems he thought it would be a great idea to have Katie pass for their missing child in order to support his wife, without informing me. He desired parental rights and visitation because of this. He begged me to spend a little bit with my kid. I questioned him about his plans for once his wife heals. The terrible thing he said was, "Well, I'll just send Katie back with you and it will be just like before." I told him that if he believed I would allow him to use my daughter in that way, he was crazy. Instead of stoking his wife's illusions, what she really needs is expert therapy. I would not allow that woman to be even a few miles away from my daughter. He said that I was unkind and uninformed about the anguish of losing a child. I concurred with him, but I also reminded Jeff that my child comes first, not his family. It is not our business what he and his family choose to do in order to process their loss. I'm making sure he never speaks to my child, so I also instructed him to phone his attorney. That's what I'm expecting then. He's been ringing my phone nonstop since Christmas, but I can ignore him with ease. My daughter and I are taking a quick trip. This isn't an update, just something I think is important to share. My kid has enough money for life. I make a great living in my role, and she has a trust. I could pay for her to attend college debt-free if she were 18 now. Child support is not necessary for her to live a good life. I would sue her father right away if I could collect child support and never have to worry about him trying something. However, I've decided that my child's safety is more important than child support or a potential inheritance after speaking with a lawyer and understanding the risks. Always put safety first. Update 2. I sincerely appreciate everyone's concern for my daughter and myself. I'm currently making my own plans to move on. She's currently enjoying a wonderful vacation with her godparents and we're both safe. My attorney is putting a lot of effort into maintaining order. I'm aware that his initial response was to cease and desist, and we are aiming for no contact. He said, hopefully, this will be resolved fairly quickly as we have a strong case. And I mean a year or two when I say that. A temporary restraining order was obtained by us. It is only valid until our initial court date. However, it may be extended thereafter. I have not spoken with Jeff directly. He also became a lawyer and attempted to issue a threat of complete custody. My attorney scoffed at it, citing parental alienation as his justification. However, I have evidence that I sought to involve him for years. It seems that providing a few emails demonstrating my attempts was sufficient to persuade them to reframe parental alienation using a different justification. To tell the truth, my lawyer is not concerned. After giving it some thought, I've decided that moving will be required for the time being. I'll be looking at new properties within the month with hopes of moving sometime this year, but it won't be something I can do on the spur of the moment. The school will stay the same, but we'll talk to the administration to make sure that only specific individuals are allowed to pick her up. Hiring a private driver has been a component of that choice. He has worked with family in the past and is someone I completely trust, so my daughter and I are both quite at ease with the notion. All I have to do now is watch out that they don't always grab fast food after school. To be honest, not too terrifying things are going on right now. I'm just going to concentrate on moving things along little by little because I have a fantastic lawyer, solid evidence, and a happy and healthy little daughter. It seems unlikely that I will be providing any updates very soon due to the legal proceedings. And please speak to the void to people who have sent me private messages accusing me of being a horrible parent for withholding my daughter from her father or saying I shouldn't have had her in the first place. I have too much going on. Edit. I just received a call from my attorney informing me of Jeff's arrest. The nature of the charges is unknown to me. To be realistic, unless there's been a murder, he will most likely be released as soon as his parents post bail. Having said that, I must admit that a small part of me is pleased since, depending on the situation, it might support my request for a permanent no-contact order. By the way, my daughter is doing fantastically. She has been compiling a wish list of new school supplies for March, the month she returns to school. Additionally, I've been discussing the possibility of working abroad with my employer. Let's see. Update 3. Fortunately, I didn't deal with Jeff today. Instead, he harassed me at work with a priest. To put it plainly, I have no connection to religion at all. Although I'm not an atheist, I simply don't think much of the Catholic Church, which is the predominant religion in my own nation. I have a detached regard for church officials because I respect it and since the majority of my family is Catholic. I got a call today while working on some papers regarding a priest who was requesting to see me. I assumed that since I had no meetings planned and frequently have visits from clergy requesting funds or involvement in events, that was it. When I informed the secretary to let him in, everything appeared to be going smoothly at first. Asking how things were, shaking hands. The standard small talk. The priest then started talking about how he had learned that I was a childless, single lady and that it seemed like I had led a hateful and debaucherous life. His declaration. I was shocked and said that I was a single mother, but I didn't understand how I was surrounded by hatred and immorality. The priest continued by saying that he was aware that I was sleeping around with guys rather than leading a devout life and that my kid was forbidden from seeing her father. How he was concerned and felt it would be better if I thought about allowing my daughter to live with a respectable family instead of letting me sell myself. The word angry was a stretch. For the simple reason that I was at work and didn't want to yell at a religious man there, I did keep it civil. I told him straight out that my daughter was fine with me, that she had a happy and safe existence, that I handled my own personal business, and that I had no plans to send her to live with someone else. I told him I had other things to take care of and that, if there was nothing else, he should probably go. When he raised his hand, I knew it was Jeff's doing. Although my daughter's father was well respected in his church and he knew he would raise a decent Christian lady, the priest informed me he didn't think my daughter would be a happy child with me. I laughed at it and just replied no. I advised him to leave once more and threatened to contact security if he persisted. Edit. I had a great conversation with the bishop here. The bishop gave me the assurance that I wouldn't hear from this priest again, even though he was a real one. He apologized profusely, and I feel satisfied with the way our chat transpired.